Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is FAJAR Gustian Putra, class TBA 4A. I wanna explain about definition of argumentative text and review the video from debate from YouTube. Okay. Let's talk about the definition of argumentative text. In argumentative text there are introduction. Argumentative text is a type of spoken or written text that is instead to explain the listener or reader that something should or should not happen to be done. Argumentative text is a text which written to argue about something debate. There are the kind of argumentative text. First is discussion, two is speech, and third is debate. Okay, let's talk about the definition of debate. Debate is speaking game in which two siders role play, arguing for to against and agree upon proposition. A proposition is a statement in support of value, belief, or belief. In the debate, there are the structure of debate. Attention getter. In the attention getter and is you should getting somebody attention for a teacher to quiet their classroom down, grab their student attention and keep student.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I call this House to order. To present their case on today's motion, this House will introduce a common currency for all Asian countries. I call upon the Prime Minister, Muhammad Afiq bin Zairul Azwan, to open the case for the government. The floor is yours.
Panel, in the 1900s when the Iron Curtain fell, it not only marked the unification of East and West Germany, that perhaps it was an allegory to the destruction of barriers that existed between nations that restricted them from gaining economic prosperity in Europe. Today what we're supporting on the side government is doing the same thing, but in Asia. But before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning towards panel of educators, timekeepers, speakers, colleagues, oppositions, people on the floor.
The next structure is background. Background information is important, competent on an essay, research paper or presentation because it can get reader attention and prompts that keep reading depending on the topic. Background information might to keep in a particular tone of approach to provide context and often address question.
Two things I will do in today's speech. First, I'll give you a complete case setup and I give my argumentation on how it's economically beneficial. My deputy will refute miscluded points coming from their side and give his own positive substantive. My whip will deconstruct the anatomy of their case and tell you why we win. First, definition. So in all of its features, common currency refers to the same legal tender and denominations across participating countries. Second definition, Asian countries is all countries within the Asian boundaries. That's to say, the debate isn't about whether or not Russia or Turkey is part of the Asian bloc. We say people who consider themselves as Asian countries are able to join this bloc. So status quo. Oh, thank you. How does status quo look like under two key respects?
Okay, let us invite the opposition leader to state the opposition's objections with regard to today's motion. Please welcome Nazmi bin Ahmad Nizam.
We agree that every success must start with a dream. However, a common currency for all Asian countries, that is an impossible dream. Ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that the three gentlemen from Sultan Alam Shah are fighting a losing battle to begin with. But before that, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning I bid to the honorable panel of judges, the precise timekeeper, amazing opponents on side of government, worthy comrades on side of opposition, and not to forget members of this beautiful house.
Next structure is thesis statement. This statement or claim is where you give reader the main idea of your piece of writing or your argument related to your topic with one or three sentences. The rule of thesis statement is clear, specific, and focused, arguable, able to answer what, how, or why.
Firstly, we say that Asian countries collectively are powerful economically as a bloc. So secondly, this insider score, despite it being the biggest bloc, they still trade independently. Third, I'm going to move on to my mechanism. So we're going to base our model on the Eurozone. 7 things to say for this.
But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do two things today. Firstly, I'm going to rebut whatever case has been brought up by side Prime Minister, and secondly, I'm going to provide the arguments from side of opposition. But first of all, let's look at the definition provided by side government. Now, he basically stated the literal definition of the keywords in these phrases. But what he failed to do is he failed to characterize the status quo of the important key phrases in today's debate, which is the Asian countries. I'm going to do that today. We have to look at the characterizations of these Asian countries. What do we have to concede and recognize?
Next, we talk about the body paragraph. In body paragraph, there is structure. First is argument. Argument is generally defended as the valid combination between claims or premise, which in the education is highly related to high quality teaching and learning. Argumentation is really giving in communication situation by people whose purpose is the justification of acts, beliefs, attitude, and value. And
So the biggest trading partner for China is the US. So that's India's trading partner consists of the US, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and also the Swiss.
Number one, we have to concede that different Asian countries have different national interests. For example, we see that China now wants to become the big country in Asia. Secondly, we have to see that there are political differences between Asian countries. This means we have different types of governments, different types of regime. For example, authoritative, autocratic, democratic, and also dictatorship. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, we also have to realize that among the Asian countries, there exists political instability.
evidence. In argument, evidence refers to vague documentation and testimony used to strengthen and claim support an argument to or reach a conclusion. Evidence can take the form of fact, statistical data, real or life example or relevant quotation.
It looks like the 57 trillion GDP, which constitutes 73% of the global economic output. And that is the 4.4 billion people within this region represents it encompasses the 60% population of the globe. I.e., there exists economic powerhouse, i.e. that of China and that of India. So,
For example, in Afghanistan, where they have inconclusive peace negotiations with the Taliban, and also in Myanmar, where they have racial genocide.
Next structure is reasoning. Reasoning are statement of support of claim, making the claim something more than more assertion. Its methods do not make sense in the hypothetical challenge or the biggest test. There is probably something wrong with the logic of the argument.
first, we establish a central bank called the ACB, that is the Asian Central Bank, and we're going to call our currency the dong. Because, don't mistake this with the Vietnamese dong. We say that the word dong itself is a good illustration on what our money is, and we think it's kind of cool to call it, right? So second mechanism is members of Asian Bank consists of the president and finance minister of participating countries. So whatever the value of the money at that moment of time isn't the debate, it will be decided by those panel of ministers. Third mechanism is that the role of the central bank is to control the currency to controlling inflation. Fourthly, the bank doesn't control fiscal policies. That's to say, given that the bank only dictates monetary policies, so things such as tax rates and government spending isn't included in that. Fifth, it's completely voluntary, so that the process we can see is gradual and long. So countries who want to opt in can opt in. Six mechanism, the strict requirement to be a member. So it's the price stability, it's the exchange rate stability, it's the stability of public finance. So countries that don't meet the requirements cannot opt into such a block. Lastly, we allow the possibility for a member to be removed. So this debate isn't about creating a utopia. We say it's an economic debate. So it's about comparatives. So we can see that there will be hiccups throughout the process of creating and throughout the block itself. But we say it doesn't undermine the benefits that we can accrue out of them. First argument, why it's economically ideal for all Asian countries to have a common currency. So the context that we need to understand today is that Asian countries do a lot of trading with non-Asian countries, despite number one, there being demand, and number two, the cost of shipping and exporting is much more cheaper. Why is this? Three reasons. The first, so the currency is more stable, i.e. that of the US. So China likes to trade with the US because the prices doesn't fluctuate. Hence, profit is maintained. Secondly, there's bigger demand, and lastly, it's it's political ties, right? Before that,
Next structure in body paragraph, there are a rebuttal. A rebuttal is a response to your opposition argument that demonstrates why their present sentence or claim in argument is incorrect or wrong. A rebuttal is about pointing out the differences between your team argument and your opposition.
Want to collaborate in the first place.
okay, that's why people will opt in to the block. I'll move to that in my second part of my speech. So because of these three things, money leaks out of those certain regions, and that is something bad. So what does having a common currency constitute? It increases the trade of these Asian countries. Why? The first, you establish a stable currency, and given trading increase the value of the currency, we say that is something good. Secondly, there's a consolidation of demand. So instead of go without a common currency, you countries create their own demand. So therefore, exporters has to trade with another country, each and single country independently, where in many instances they don't. When there exists a single currency, there's a singular demand. That's so where the demand is in Asian bloc is collectively bigger compared to the demand by other countries. So why does trading in a single region equate a better economy for the region? That's to say, why do people actually want to opt into the region? This is directly engaging with his POI. So you strengthen the value of the currency overall. So trading costs decrease because shipping is cheaper because of geographical proximity. Hence production costs decrease, which results in an increase of profit margin. So companies can make more money, they can increase the salary of the workers, which gives workers more an increase of purchasing power. So there's more demand, there's more production, hence more job opportunities. It's economic 101. So the alternative is that when production costs decrease, the selling cost also decreases. But before that, I ask a question.
Sir,
Yeah.
if you make this policy voluntarily, then how are you going to make sure that the countries actually have an incentive to join this union?
That was literally my analysis just now, right? Listen to what I'm saying. So products become cheaper under our side, and this appeals to a lot of people. So all in all, it's more prosperity under our side. So when the currency strengthens, so the value of money increases. You can buy more things. You have more purchasing power. So in a situation where they want to illustrate a world where people don't want to opt into this block, we say it's fine, because the burden that we need to push today is not why people will opt into this block, but why the merits of having a common currency is good, right? So we told you a lot of things. So firstly, we told you why trade will increase. Hence, the value and the strengthening of your currency will increase. So they never got that intention. So on a comparative, we can see that there will be hiccups in our economies, i.e. that of the Eurozone, but that doesn't undermine the kinds of benefits that you could accrue on our side. That is to say, in the Eurozone, you get a lot of economical you get a lot of economical benefits. So the trade between those countries increase. We got more people, we got more tourists, we get more transparency, right?
Gentlemen, moving on to my rebuttals to what I have to the Prime Minister. Now, what he said in his speech is basically simple. You can sum up whatever he said into the benefits of having a common currency. Now, he basically stated the mere obvious things once you have a common currency, which you can already see happening in the euro. But what he failed to do is he failed to prove to us how did that come to happen. I have three rebuttals. Number one, I question him on how to make it voluntary. Are you going to actually incentivize all these countries to join that union? But he didn't respond. He merely dismissed. Now, why won't these countries actually, Asian countries, want to join? A few reasons, a few responses. Number one, because of the transition cost that they have to pay. In order for you to change your currency, to change your bank and everything, you need a lot of money. But second reason is because in the whole of 48 Asian countries, you have the extreme poor to the highly developed countries. So there's like a huge gap of disparity between the Asian countries. So the reason for this is it creates like it actually creates the interest when it's coming to join the Asian Union. And secondly, ladies and gentlemen, he never clarified to us on whether or not there is a body that will there is a union like the European Union where they eliminate the borders and allow people to go through other countries, because we think that's really important if you want to create a new currency. If you don't have an open borders, how are the citizens of the Asian Union going to use that money? So a lot of things have not been explained by Prime Minister. But moving on to my arguments today, ladies and gentlemen, which is common currency, it hinders and impedes economic and political sovereignty. I have three levels of analysis. My first level of analysis on how it hinders personal and economic growth. Sure, the upside is that trade happens, economic growth happens, but this is not true for big countries that join this union. For example, China, because now they have to lower their interest rates and also conform to the economic situations of other countries and integrate it into one union in order to make that currency. We think this is not suitable for that big country. But before moving on to my second analysis, yes,
The last structure is conclusion. An argument text is a conclusion is essential as it conveys the hope and impression you leave with your reader. Its goal is it to present the thesis summarized the essay body and leave reader with the last impression.
So those are the kinds of benefits that only are exclusive for under our side. When you have a common currency, this is an economic debate in all facets. We've won them all. That I'm very proud to propose.
so given that, ladies and gentlemen, that's what they have to realize in today's debate, where we don't think it's conducive for you to create a common currency. But more of that, what's this debate about? We think this debate is about arguing the feasibility of creating a common currency for all Asian countries. Why do we think that's justified? Because for you to accept the motion, for everyone to accept this motion, you need to prove to us why should we introduce and how are we going to introduce this common currency. Secondly, what is this debate about? It's about outweighing the harms and benefits of having a common currency. And that's what we're going to do today. Ladies and gentlemen, secondly, what is the stand on side of opposition? We tell you our stand is clear. Our stand is the difference in economic, social, and political interests of Asian countries hinders economic integration. But I'm curious to know what they have to say so early, so second speaker.